We have some breaking news coming your way on the San Francisco 49ers report. 49ers defensive coordinator DeMeco Ryans has been hired to become the next head coach of the Houston Texans. He replaces Lovie Smith, and he goes back to the organization that drafted him out of Alabama a couple of years ago, where he ended up being a fantastic player throughout his playing career. And now he goes back to the organization, which he had a lot of playing success, to try to bring that organization back, get him on the right track as a head coach. And I know a lot of alumni with the Texans organization very pumped up about DeMeco coming back because of all of the fantastic qualities he brings to that organization as their new head coach. So DeMeco today did finish his second interview with the Texans, and it didn't take long for them to make it official. This was the thought process going into Tuesday, that today was going to be the day that DeMeco is going to ink that contract. And according to reports, he's been named that next head coach to replace Lovie Smith. And according to a 49ers source on Tuesday morning, the 49ers as an organization knew that he was gone, and now they're already searching is San Francisco for their next defensive coordinator. Houston making it official here that DeMeco is going to be their head man, and I'm about to explain why I think DeMeco is going to be a fantastic hire. A 6-year contract for him, which means that he is really going to be given a lot of leeway to really go about this rebuilding process in the way that he wants to. And for DeMeco, it's a pretty good situation here. He didn't have the greatest ending to his relationship with Houston as a player with the McNair family, but he interviewed with Cal McNair as well as his wife, and it looks as though now they're obviously on good terms. And according to Ian Rappaport, the Denver Broncos today were trying to bring in DeMeco as their next head coach. He had already declined that offer, went back on that sentiment today, and then Denver ended up making a trade with the New Orleans Saints to hire Sean Payton. So the news of DeMeco, not the only head coaching carousel news here on this fine Tuesday, and as Adam Schefter reported, a 6-year deal. Mike Garafolo with this also, and this goes in line with the 49ers now looking for DeMeco's replacement. They have requested permission to speak with Steve Wilks for their opening at defensive coordinator. He is still under contract with the Carolina Panthers. He was in the running for Carolina's head coaching job. They decided to go with Frank Reich, and Steve Wilks, one of the better defensive coordinators in the sport. That name might sound familiar because he used to be the head coach for the Arizona Cardinals before Cliff Kingsbury. Josina Anderson with this as well, and I know now a lot of Niner fans are going to be really excited about this. I'm told that the Niners are planning not only to talk to Steve Wilks, as Mike Garafolo reported, but how about this? In discussions to interview Commanders defensive backs coach Chris Harris, who's widely respected across the NFL, and of course, Vic Fangio. On Sunday, it was reported that Vic Fangio was going to team up with former Niners offensive coordinator Mike McDaniel to be their defensive coordinator. That contract is not set in stone. And the 49ers defensive coordinator opening job, it's honestly better than some head coaching jobs out there because you have Nick Bosa, you have that deep defensive line, Fred Warner, Dre Greenlaw, a very good secondary with youngsters on it. Basically, every single member of the starting defense for the Niners is under 30 years old. So could Vic Fangio not go to Miami and come back to San Francisco where he was the DC under Jim Harbaugh? Him and Kyle Shanahan do have a very good relationship. This is why I think that DeMeco can be a good head coach, and this is why I think it's a good hire for Houston. And the writing was kind of on the wall with what he did with the Niners the last 2 years as DC, but also the connections that he has with that organization. DeMeco is a defensive mastermind. He's made terrific adjustments in season and in game. Last year after the 3-5 start, this year halftime adjustments were really critical. In-game adjustments were critical, and that's what you need as a high-level coach. As a player, former All-Pro as well as a Pro Bowler with the Houston Texans. As a head coach now, he has good leadership qualities. Also is a very good communicator. Is very well respected because of his strong presence. Niner players really just revered him as a leader, and because he was a player for a long time, and because he's been on Kyle Shanahan's staff since 2017, as he's seen a lot of talented coaches come through that organization, and because he played in the league for a while, he does have ties to build a good coaching staff. And could he be bringing some Niners assistants with him. We'll get to that coming up around the corner. And the reviews are already in. This coming from Robert Saleh, former Niners DC, now the current head coach with the New York Jets. He's all in on DeMeco being hired as the Texans head coach. He said DeMeco is awesome. He's going to do great. This is a really cool opportunity for him. He said this, by the way, before that DeMeco hiring was made official. Captain Meco, he called him. Phenomenal. Family man, obviously relatable. As a former player, he has that empathy and relatability. He's very, very smart, always trying to learn. I think that's what you appreciate the most out of him. Longtime defensive coordinator and defensive wizard Wade Phillips, as well as a former head coach in this league, said, I think DeMeco would be great. He was the captain of the team in Houston when I came here. He's a smart guy. I'm not surprised. He's a really good coach. Some players adapt to it, some don't. He's one that did very well. And then an anonymous 49ers defensive player to the local news station in Houston, KPRC, said he's a great teacher. DeMeco is a great coach and a great person. He's different than your typical coach. He played the game at a very high level, and he's able to relate that to his players. Yes, he's special. He's a great leader. And at the end of the day, this is why you subscribe. Cut out. This is why you subscribe to the 49ers Report, because when breaking news happens, we bring it to you right away, and we have audio technicalities. We still keep it moving here on the show, so make sure you subscribe. We're approaching 80,000 subscribers. We appreciate all of the love here, and this is your home for the best offseason coverage all throughout the calendar year. As for DeMeco's rise and how he got to where he is right now, 2005, he was an All-American at Alabama. In 2006, named Defensive Rookie of the Year. So he made some progress and made a statement right away as a player in this league. 2007, sophomore campaign, named a first-team All-Pro, two-time Pro Bowler with Houston, went to Philly, had some good years there, was brought to the Bay Area with Shanahan in 2017, started off as a defensive quality control coach, and then already was elevated the following year as the inside linebackers coach. He held that post from 2018 to 2020. Shanahan then hired him once Saleh went to the Jets, was the defensive coordinator for the Niners back-to-back years, and as for what happens next, now he is the new head coach of the Houston Texans. As for what the Niners did this year, led by DeMeco's tutelage and his coaching, they were awesome. And I understand that they didn't play all that well against Philadelphia's number one ranked offense, but the sample size was long and clear. For the last 2 years, San Francisco had one of the preeminent defenses in the NFL. In the regular season, league best in points per game and yards per game, as well as points per play. Yards per play, they were number 4. Third down conversion rate, red zone scoring percentage, not great. Philadelphia able to capitalize on that in the NFC Championship game. But in an offensive-laden era, to give up less than 2 touchdowns per game is phenomenal. They were great against the rush before going up against Philadelphia, of course, as they were number 2 in yards per rush, number 2 in rushing yards per game. And DeMeco's scheme allowed Nick Bosa to have a great year. Could be the defensive player of the year with his 18.5 sacks. So to wish DeMeco Ryans well, he did some great work with this organization. I need you to hit that thumbs up icon and like the video. This guy did a terrific job with San Francisco. As for the Super Bowl odds and Super Bowl 57, because today's show is presented by BetUS, Chiefs, Eagles, 2 Sundays from Glendale, Arizona. This line has flip-flopped a couple of times. Eagles 1-point favorites. The over-under set at 49.5. If you want to bet on that game, or you want to bet on the Niners to win the Super Bowl next year, as they have the 3rd best odds, make sure you do so with our sportsbook partner, BetUS. 125% deposit bonus if you head to chatsports.com/49bet with the promo code Niners125. You put in $100, you get $125 back. As for the ripple effect that could happen with DeMeco going to Houston as the former Niners defensive coordinator, is he going to bring some coaches from the Niners staff with him because of that level of familiarity? According to NFL insider Aaron Wilson, DeMeco, I would hate this, could hire Chris Kocurek as his defensive coordinator, who I think is the best defensive line coach in the NFL. He's really maximized the level of talent for many members along that defensive line over the last couple of years. Bobby Slowick, who is the pass game coordinator for the Niners, could be hired by DeMeco as his offensive coordinator, and safeties coach Daniel Bullocks could follow DeMeco as well. So oftentimes when a head coach is hired from one organization, the other coaches on that staff who are looking to really elevate their respective careers and go from pass game coordinator to OC or defensive line coach to defensive coordinator to really just take the next step in their respective careers, that new head coach will take some of those holdovers from that staff. DeMeco leaving also means another third-round pick for the Niners. It's going to be a compensatory pick in 2025. But in this draft class here for 2023, the Niners, even after trading away picks for Trey Lance as well as Christian McCaffrey, they have 11 picks in this upcoming draft. They have a couple of third-rounders here. Third-round comp pick because of Mayhew leaving for the Commanders and Saleh going to the Jets. Another third-round comp pick because Mike McDaniel took that job with the Dolphins. Another third-round comp pick because Rand Carthon is now the new general manager for the Houston Texans. Their own fifth. They got a fifth because of the Jeff Wilson trade. A fifth-round comp pick with DJ Jones as a former seventh-round pick going to the Broncos and signing for $10 million per year. Then the sixth-round comp because Arden Key signed with the Jags. Seventh-rounder of their own. Another seventh-rounder because of the Jonas Griffith trade, the linebacker who went to Denver. Then a couple more comp picks. Raheem Mostert and K'Wan Williams also brought the Niners a couple of seventh-round picks as well. Coming up next on the show, the Kyle Shanahan slander that I've been seeing in the aftermath of the 49ers losing the NFC Championship game is honestly wild to me. But first, I want to gauge what you think of Kyle Shanahan right now in the comments section. So let me pose this question for everybody here as we kick off this segment. Kyle Shanahan as a coach is what? E for elite, A for average, B for bad? Let me know down below in the comments section. As always, appreciate all of you for tuning into the 49ers Report by Chat Sports. I'm Chase Sr., and what I want to get into here, I don't understand the Kyle Shanahan slander that I've been seeing in the aftermath of the 49ers losing in the NFC Championship game for the second consecutive year. People are saying that Kyle Shanahan should be fired. People are saying that Kyle Shanahan is at fault for the Niners going down and not punching their ticket to the Super Bowl. They're saying that he's overrated when in reality, Kyle Shanahan in this league is a top 5 to 10 head coach in the National Football League. What he did in 2022, I think, is his best coaching job of his career. And do people forget how bad this organization was with Jim Tomsula as well as Chip Kelly, and what Kyle Shanahan and John Lynch had to inherit in 2017? This is one of the worst organizations in the sport at that time when there seemed to be no light at the end of the tunnel. Shanahan comes in, and by year 3, they're a quarter away from winning the Super Bowl. He had to completely rebuild this organization, and I thought that he was able to do it in impressive fashion. In 2017, Niners went 6-10. Year after that, Jimmy G goes down. They had a quarterback carousel. They went 4-12. In 2019, they made the surprise run to the Super Bowl, losing to the Kansas City Chiefs after having that double-digit lead going into the fourth quarter, but they locked up the number 1 seed. Home field advantage went through Levi Stadium in Santa Clara, and it was an impressive season given that they made it to the Super Bowl. In 2020, they were ravaged with injuries, and in the last 2 years, San Francisco was able to overcome slow starts. 2021, they started the year 3-5, finished 10-7, went on the road, beat the Cowboys in the wild card round, then went on the road and upset the number 1 seeded Green Bay Packers. And yes, they fell in the NFC Championship game after having that 10-point lead in the fourth quarter. We'll talk about those blown advantages coming up. And then this year, San Francisco starts the year 3-4. They end the year going into the playoffs in the NFC Championship game with a 12-game winning streak. It's the largest winning streak that we've ever seen among all teams going into a conference title weekend. And Shanahan now has an overall record of 52-46 and a playoff record of 6-3. Please don't get it twisted. Kyle Shanahan is a special head coach in this league, and please know that coaches like Kyle don't grow on trees. If the 49ers were to fire him, if he were to be fatigued by everybody calling him overrated and this fan base just being annoyed with him to the point where they throw all this vitriol his way, he would get scooped up by another organization in a heartbeat. In fact, I wouldn't be surprised if some organizations were to fire their current head coach just to hire Kyle Shanahan. Kyle Shanahan, as a head coach, is special. His offense and the offensive scheme is widely seen across the National Football League as one of the best in the NFL, one of the most creative, and one of the most difficult to defend in the league. And you think about 2022. San Francisco won 13 games. They won the NFC West. They reversed the curse against the Seattle Seahawks. They got the number 2 seed, and they made it to the Final Four with 3 starting quarterbacks having to change the offense 3 different times, from Trey Lance to Jimmy Garoppolo to Brock Purdy. And then Brock Purdy went 7-0 in his starts, 8-0 in the games that he played prior to the NFC title game, and San Francisco's hopes were dashed of making it to the Super Bowl on that first drive once Brock Purdy went out and his elbow got ripped up. Now, yes, does Shanahan have some shortcomings? No doubt about it. But it's not like he's a dickhead. It's not like he treats people poorly. He's widely respected in that locker room. He has blown some big leads in the playoffs. There's no question about that. But can you also criticize him for having Tyler Kroft block Hassan Reddick? Yes, every head coach in the NFL does have shortcomings, but he's really becoming the Eagles' version of Andy Reid in this era. And let me tell you this about Andy Reid. He was in Philadelphia for 14 years. Philadelphia made it to 4 straight NFC Championship games. Andy Reid only made it to the Super Bowl once in that span. 5 NFC title games as a whole. Kyle Shanahan is already on pace to really overtake what Reid did in Philadelphia over that decade and almost a half. And that goes to show you that Kyle Shanahan is one of the better head coaches in the NFL. And in due time, I really do believe that in due time, at some point, Shanahan will win the big one. And that's why it's so important right now for the 49ers to capitalize and take advantage of the Super Bowl window. Basically, every single starter on the defensive side of the ball is under 30 years old. So defensively, you're in a good spot. Offensively, though, it's time to cash in. Trent Williams isn't getting any younger, nor is Kyle Juszczyk or Deebo Samuel. You have questions along that offensive line. George Kittle has been injury prone, but kind of revived his career this year with 11 touchdowns after that midway point. All San Francisco has to do is get a quarterback in here that can stay healthy and get that quarterback position right. Shanahan has done all of this despite having average to solid quarterback play, and some want to blame him for his quarterbacks getting injured. It's not his fault that Jimmy G is injury prone. It's not his fault that Nick Mullins hurt his elbow. Maybe Kyle Shanahan does deserve some of the blame for Trey Lance getting injured because he ran him far too much. Does he deserve blame for Jimmy Garoppolo getting injured this year when Jimmy G was simply trying to extend the play with the Tyler Kroft blocking Hassan Reddick? Yeah, it wasn't a good scheme fit there on that certain sequence, but if you go back and watch that play, Brock Purdy does have a clean pocket for a second, and Brandon Ayuk is running wide open. So yes, it's a two-sided argument in which you can deflect blame to Kyle Shanahan, but also realize that this dude is special, and San Francisco is one of the most well-run and well-respected organizations in the sport. They've made it to now 3 NFC Championship games over the last 4 years. He has a Super Bowl appearance. They draft well. They coach well. They develop players well. And now Shanahan, does he deserve credit for Robert Saleh getting a gig? For Mike McDaniel getting a head coaching job? And now DeMeco Ryans? San Francisco is a model organization in this sport, and Shanahan and John Lynch are a part of that. So let me ask you this question, and I want to hear your feedback here. Kyle Shanahan as a coach is what? E for elite, A for average, B for bad? Let us know down in the comment section. And as always, we appreciate all of you for watching today's show.